Have you ever put off a video so long that it basically became unrelevant, then became relevant again when they made an official English announcement, and they decided to announce more support upcoming in the future, so it becomes relevant again? And all that time I had a huge flood and went on a trip and all that. I'm not making excuses. So anyways, it's Vyrgilla time again. For those of you that haven't watched the 10 billion videos on my channel, because apparently I'm becoming that guy for Vyrgilla, Vyrgilla is the Royal Paladins deck in Dragon Empire. Essentially, we've got a main grade 3 that lets you revive your units while binding cards and gives you the ability to restand your guys in multi-attack, and order that also checks your top 5 to call something while giving your main Vanguard a huge power up. So between those two, you are a superior calling power-upping engine, which literally old school royals. The right line itself also helps plus you up by giving things like free rise and power-ups for your allies, and a critical as long as you have some allies on the board. And it even goes so far as having a Legion Mate Blaster Blade, who not only has his own Wingle grade 1, but he also has a grade 3 Alfred support. Very aggressive, has some control, a lot of consistency. This deck is actually low-key insane. But you're probably not here to hear me gush about all the old Vyrgilla stuff in my current build or whatever, because I did that last time. Look at the link up above wherever side it's on. No. Lishy Road actually gave us quite a few new toys to play with, so let's go ahead and take a look at those. Starting things off, which brings us full circle, we have a new trial deck, which just came out in Japan alongside with another one that I don't really care about. Cool thing here, this is actually the second Vyrgilla start deck to come out. If you guys remember Stardust Blade, that was basically the compilation of all the manga cards put together and turned into something that's kind of similar to this, but this is also huge because that never actually formally came out in Japan. It was more just an insert into Korokoro. So here is the first official release worldwide of the entirety of the Vyrgilla deck. Real quick breakdown of what we got. Ride line huge, 4 Blaster Blade huge, 4 of the top 5 Searcher for an order, which is not bad. We're gonna ignore the new cards for a second because that's like half the reason for this video. Persona rides always. We got 4 Alfreds, which is huge because this is like a grade 3 Shenri. By the way, there's a Shenri in here. A single Shenri. Have fun, ladies and gentlemen, when you need to pick up a playset of Shenris for this deck. I would absolutely recommend it because yeah, then generic perfect guards, which is whatever. Rainbow triggers, whatever. You run this with 8 crits, 4 fronts. This is huge. The fact that they're including the Drag Beta correct over trigger is massive because as I've gone over in a couple videos, this is a perfect fit for the deck. Not only does your Vanguard do a restand on attack, which is just anytime he attacks, so if you do hit resanding over trigger, you get multiple uses out of that ability. But on the grade 2, if you were able to rush them out of the gate and have that crit, guess what? You have 2 strings with a crit now. So very good over trigger for the deck. Absolutely would run this over anything else until it gets banned. Then we got 2 of the original order because they had to make room for the new one, and 1 copy of the Vyrgilla Regal Feast once again, which is great because this was like the reason to get the deck here in the States, so got a chance at it. Overall, very solid. I mean, out of the gate, before we read these 3 new cards, I almost wouldn't change anything in here. Obviously, you put more Shenris in, so like probably more Shenris over this guy, but this is solid out of the gates. Just change your triggers and you're good to go. Which actually kind of doubles up on what they did with the original one, where it was probably the best out of the deck, starter deck that you could play outside of maybe picking up a Stride set or whatever, I don't know. Fact of the matter is Vyrgilla is a great deck to teach people with, and is a surprisingly competitive deck, as I've proven time and time in the past. But anyways, there's 3 new cards here in the background, so yeah, it's time to... How do I get so big? It's time to transition to card reveals. We got the Mori Cup now. Gamer Subs, sponsor me if I get popular. And of course, until I am popular enough to get sponsored by Gamer Subs or whatever, make sure to drop me a tip on Ko-Fi or check out my page on TCG Player if you like what I do and want to help support me on the channel. So starting things off, we have a new version of Nebby, the Cosmor. I'm slightly shifted, but I don't care because that's the best way to see the card text. You know it's a great one. You see it right there. As you may remember, Mr. Cloud here is basically your Wingle for the deck. Whenever it boosts an Ezvor once per turn, you're able to energy charge 1, which is great because you use your 3 energy per turn on Vyrgilla's main ability. And to that, when your Ezvor stands, so does he. So this used to be the freest unit of all time. You just get 1 energy per turn, and you basically make a 23 column that restands itself, which on top of all your other power-ups means you are consistently hitting numbers and making your opponent throw away a lot of shield. Let's see what the new one does. Honestly, I hope it's really good because I've always been a fire type trainer in Pokemon or whatever. So Fire Nebby, here we go. Drop zone. When your unit with Ezvor in its card name is placed, cost Counterblast 1 and call this to rearguard the same column as that unit. If that unit was placed by the ability of Vyrgilla, you could reduce that cost by Counterblast 1. CV1 is a little tough in this deck, mainly because not only is your order cost Counterblast 1, but Vyrgilla's restand ability also does. So you theoretically go through 2 Counterblasts a turn, and while Alfred does have a counter charge on him, Counterblast Denial and management of your resources is a big part of the game. So the more cantrips we have to have free abilities, the better. Great to hear that's called the right way. You're able to basically call this card out for free. Essentially, that means that if you are using Vyrgilla's ability to call Ezreal out of drop zone, you're able to call an entire column out of drop zone. So see what he does for his other ability. Back row, rear guard. When stands with brands. Okay, same thing as this guy, really, with when your Ezreal stands, he stands. I kind of like this. I don't think this is like the key to the deck. I don't think this is the main guy or whatever. But I like that you now have a choice to make. Simply because both of them do the same rearguard ability of restanding with the Ezreal. So you're able to consistently make that 23, 33, 43, whatever the heck you're at column for free. So again, this is a restanding thing. But huge. Don't forget I said about their OG. He lets you energy charge. So you either have an energy charge once per turn, which could lead you to some interesting combos. If you're able to get this column set up on turn 2 and just go from there, you basically have 7 energy right off the bat, which means you could draw a card if you really need to. And of course that does help slowly ramp you back up because you are using your energy every turn. So you have to be a little bit more resourceful with it if you think about it that way. But you could also potentially call this guy for free, which helps out if retire really becomes a thing. I know Bob Sagara is massive in Japan right now, being tier 0. Varga could retire back row now. Does anything else really control? I mean, this does a little bit, but does anything really actually control that we care about? I guess it really depends how the meta shapes up. Like I said, right now, Bob is like the deck in Japan, so maybe if that's the thing, you want to just run the fire-type Pokemon for that recursion. But if the recursion doesn't matter and you'd rather have the energy, you can still run version 1.0 to Cloudy Boy. Really cool there. I like that you basically have 2 versions of the same card that kind of are situational and make you think with your thinking parts on how to make your deck function. Moving on, we have a grade 2 and a order, so actually 2 grade 2s if you think about it that way. Let's take a look at the human being first, because I want to save the best for last, except not really, because this is pretty good too. We have the Dawn of the End, Enwing, a little waifu for the deck. Look at her go. Is that it? Her scythe looks like Dragonk Overlord's wing. Huh. Alright, so we got 3 abilities once again, starting from the top to the bottom. When this is placed on rearguard, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vyrgilla, Energy Blast 3, choose one of your opponent's rearguards and bind it! Okay, this is a good bad. So, the good, you get to bind a card. Again, once again, Vyrgilla's ability to retire cards is a bind thing, so you are now going full Narukami. And same when she's called, you could essentially bind retire either 1 if she's called her on her own, or 2 if she's called off this. The bad though. Look at this part. You see it says Energy Blast 3 right there. Same. So, good double up on the bind tire. You have a lot of control now. Bad, you are pooping through energy, and as far as I know, outside of the 1 Cosmor per turn, you're not going to be able to accelerate that much. We see. We'll pretend like this deck could suddenly get something like Sacrifice Glass. Outside that, as a great ability on its own, because you now are turning into more of an aggressive control deck with this new bind. It can be whenever it's called, as long as you're grade 3, so you don't have to call it off ability. You can still target your Ezreal because you're supposed to, and then just naturally call this if you have 3 energy left over, because let's be real, unless you literally just burned it by the time you hit grade 3, you will always have at least 6 energy every turn. Wait, scratch that, reverse it. I think what I'm trying to say is you get 3 energy every turn, so that's cost 1 to 2. And then as long as you're not spending on both every turn, you should be able to generate back to 6. But if you start using both every turn, let's go on to the other part of the ability. I'm hurting my brain too much. When you rear guard with Ezreal, attacks gets +5. Yay! Power up when you Blaster Blade. And you're going to be restanding this Blaster Blade like 9 and 10 times. So that's going to be 2 power ups, making her a 20k. Not bad. Shove that in front of the Shenri or something, swing 33 for no reason. And last ability, Guard Circle. It's one of these. So it's also this +10. So she effectively is a 20k, 15k, which makes her stat-wise a better Ezreal, but only if you're restanding Ezreal. Very good. This literally doubles up on your whole strat of the deck being just aggressive control. She says, if you call me, I can bind another card, which, once again, fantastic. I cannot stress enough how classic Super Narukami is. There's a reason that Eradicator is like the deck that I played way back in the day. Her being a 15-15/2015 because you will stand the Ezreal. Yeah, it's pretty good stat-wise. One of the key things that this deck does is just generate numbers without doing much. So just on the classic turn that Shaboom, let's pretend like this is her, and you have your Vanguard with the order up. Order is going to grant your Vanguard power for every normal unit that you have between field and drop zone. It's going to go 15, whatever the heck the Vanguard is, 15 again, 20. Not including boosts, that's not including any power-ups or anything. So yeah, be like her. She's a very good waifu for the deck. Then finally, the final card for today, because we are coming back for part 2 in just a little bit. You know how the deck has an order. the impact that I just talked about that gives you super insane power while searching for an ally. The card that scales the longer the game goes. The buddy fight, funny buddy fight. This is a funny buddy fight. Impact order. LOL. They got 2 impact order now. This new one is called Blazing Star Cross, which continues the fact that this deck has insane names. The first one was Stardust Blade. These are literally just like Hisatsu Wasa. Ultimate skill. So you'll play this if you have a Vyrgilla, of course. Soul Blast 1. I already like this because between this and this, you are effectively counterblasting 2 a turn. Your Soul isn't really an issue as far as I know with the deck. Yeah, you might want to Soul Blast once or twice for support cards or whatever, but realistically, off of this guy, this goes off your drop zone too, so you don't care if you Soul Blast. And one of my secret text for this is that the Energy Blast grade 2 really does help out a lot because you just revive stuff from the drop zone again. You don't care about Soul Blast. Let's see what it does. Choose one of your Ezwar, it gets +10 till end of turn. And then the other ability whatsoever. Just the +10 alone is good because it turns your Ezwar into a 25k V-Stander. Let's continue reading. So if your opponent's grade 3, when it's sustained by the ability of Vyrgilla, if either your opponent's bind zone is 3 or more, or you persona this turn. So you have multiple ways. Where do you go? Crit +1 on your V-Standing board. So on its own, this is going to be a 25k that restands and turns into a 25 double. Let's not forget, add either Nebi to that. 33k with the restand on the crits. 33 is going to force out at least 2 cards out of your opponent's hand, at minimum. The biggest shield in the game that's not over trigger is if you decide to run the +5 front triggers, and that matches you at 33. So hitting 33 forces out a second card guard if they want to guard it. You do that twice. That's 4 cards out of their hand right there if they're at like 5 damage or some threshold where they don't want taking damage. In addition to that, it says if you bound a lot of cards, if you're doing your job correctly, Vyrgilla is going to be bounding 1 per turn. So if you think about it that way, it's going to be 3 turns sitting on Vyrgilla. Don't forget new grade 2 though. She also binds stuff. So if you're able to play that and have another turn, you on the second turn of Vyrgilla, you're able to do this. And more importantly, Persona Ride if you're on the second turn of Vyrgilla anyways. So effectively, this card is going to pop off on your second grade 3 turn. So think that as you may. The start deck that we looked at before seemed to run 3 of those and 2 of the original Stardust Blade. I guess it's gonna be a space issue. We're gonna have to mess with this, but I feel like 3 and 3 feels good. Because if you think about it, you have this one which supports your rear guard, and Stardust Blade which supports your Vanguard, which lets you chain together another board and gives your Vanguard insane scaling power. So that's all we got for today. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content, but JK, I lied. I said next week. I said next Tuesday. Wish you would decide to drop this little bombshell on us at the end of the set reveal for last set that I didn't really care about except for a couple cards, and maybe I'll go over that if you want to just comment down below about it. Look at this line right here. Not that line. Not that line, but I kind of like that too, because we'll get new Dark State generics. That'd be pretty cool. I'm a Dark State guy. Look at this line. Cards to strengthen, 0, Tendos, Breakaway, start deck. Protagonist. This guy on the little horsey horse dragon, that's Vyrgilla. That's Zero Tendo. That's the protagonist of Skyride. Can't wait to get my Volume 1 in. Volume 2, by the way, has been revealed. It has another awesome promo. We'll talk about it some other time. This is the Vyrgilla deck. We are getting more Vyrgilla support, and I can't wait. So I'm going to see you guys in a couple days now for part 2 of this video or whatever. Thank you for watching this far. If you stop here, like, comment, subscribe, or whatever, support me by checking out my page on TCG Player where I sell trade card game stuff, or drop me a tip on Ko-Fi if you like what I do. But otherwise, stick around because we're going to have a little bit more support coming right about now. Why am I upside down? We got this. Here comes transition. Here we go. Alright, so we're back with day number 2. And before we get started with today's Vyrgilla reveal, I have a very important announcement. The day that I recorded this, on April 15th, a Coney birthday. Coney, come here. I'm going to need everybody to go down to comments and comment happy birthday, Coney. That's for you. Happy birthday, dear Coney. She's 7 years old today. So anyways, we only got 1 new card in today's reveals because they were doing a bunch of stuff for the other stuff. But it is a doozy right here. So do you remember when I said that Vyrgilla is a Royal Paladin in disguise 20 bajillion times in the last few videos? Just look at this. Look at this white armor. This is an Alfred right here. His name is Alknights. Alfred Knights. This is literally the Royal Paladin card of all time. So we got a RewriteForm here, which sound familiar? Has a couple of different abilities that are activated by the main ability of Rewrite Hand. When your opponent is grade 3 or greater cost, bind a Rewrite the stars of Vyrgilla, the main one from your Vanguard, and ride this as stand. Then perform all the following. At the end of the turn, ride the bound card at rest. Okay. Without reading ahead to what the effects actually do, this may look familiar. This is kind of like our cross rides, like the Tamir Chaos, those glitter cards. And if you think about battle phase, Youthberg. You ride to new thing, and then at the end of the turn, you ride back to the original thing. So this is our cross-ride Youthberg thing of the deck. That's hilarious. It's a stride, basically. The fact that it's activated during the main phase means that you could activate original Vyrgilla's skill first. So before you do anything else, you could Energy Blast 3, res something, and then just this out of hand. See what he does. First of all, search your deck or drop zone for up to 1 Galaxian, call it to rearguard. Search your deck or drop for up to 1 ultimate skill card. You'll be able to put it back to your hand. Then if you search your deck, shuffle your deck. All those cards I've shown you so far, and a lot of the ones that you've seen before, those are Galaxians. You get your Edgewords, you got your Cosmors, the new chick probably is. I didn't really check her race when I did that reveal, and the ultimate skill cards are, of course, your 2 orders. So this, hold on, I'm gonna have to actually edit that in real time. No, that looks solid. This is like the ultimate storage engine. You either just superior call card and grab the same order that you played already back from your drop zone, or if you want a deck to deck win, you can do that too. Insane. Like I said, you can basically use your dress after you use your main ability. So if you think about it that way, you effectively are reviving 2 cards a turn while searching for your ultimate skill cards. And then, until end of the turn, this gets, I'm going to scroll down a little bit, this feels like the on-attack effect. This gets red text. When this card attacks, costs counterblast 1, stand all your front row rear guards, and this gets drive +1 until end of battle. Then we're going to, this last part here, do I even go over the last part? That's all that matters. You have triple driving, 5 attack, Vyrgilla. Don't forget the overtrigger. My voice is getting higher. This card's exciting. And then the front row gets +5 for each card with the same name as this unit in Soul. Okay, so the front row gets the power equal to this. 5 attack Vyrgilla. I shouldn't need to say anything more. This deck, as I said time and time again, is extremely aggressive. You should be hitting your opponent to like 4 or 5 damage by the time you're at turn 3, which is why in the past I have done Varga attacks and stuff like that just to take advantage of your opponent being fully floored down. With this guy, you're not going to need that. It does say your opponent has to be grade 3 in order for you to dress. If you go first, you have to wait a turn to do this. However, if you go second, you have instant access as well as more energy. This might be a go second deck now. This might just be a go second, don't even think about deck. Yeah, you get triple drive, and all of your front row is going to get 5k power for every copy of him in Soul. This kind of makes up for having no Persona ride on it, basically, because you can't stay on him, and fortunately, with the way that his skill is all linked to the rewrite effect, you don't want to ride this thing. This is not going to your ride deck. You still have to keep 1 Vyrgilla in your ride deck. You just stride. This is a stride. Oh god, this is Gear Chronicle Royal Paladins. This is my deck. Gear Chronicle Royal Paladin Narukami. Looking at realistically though, his pseudo crest is going to get +5 for every copy of him in Soul. So it does scale a little bit, but at the most you're maxing it out at 15k. And I gotta check some real quick. Hold on, I gotta check some real quick on the order. If you have a card with Vyrgilla in his name, if you have a card with Vyrgilla in his name, if you have a card with Vyrgilla in his name. Okay, so all of the Vyrgilla support is not directly rewrite Sarge Vyrgilla. It's all Vyrgilla. So you can still pop off with basically anything with this card. That means, honestly, I don't know which order you want to run every turn. The global front trigger and a half scales very well with the fact that you're already gaining a butt ton of power. And like I said, just your standard Edgewords Cosmor column is typically a 23, so that hits 38. That's huge. Once again, you're restanding these guys, so you're restanding these. Oh, you could double Edgewords. Hold on. I didn't think about that because you never had to double Edgewords before, but you could double Edgewords. If you have the double Nebby, double Blaster Blade columns, that's 23-23. Restand 23-23. JK, they're still getting the same power-ups. Okay, I like this. I like this card a lot. So, how do I even outro this now that the full reveal is barking? Coney barking? Wanna say something, birthday girl? Okay, close enough. That is more Vyrgilla support than you could shake stick at if you had a stick that was long enough to shake at a bunch of trading cards. I don't know how I was going with that. So what do you guys think? It's a... one sec real quick. I was so excited to outro this and be done with all the reveals, I almost forgot that I did a horrible MS Paint mock-up of an example deck. Triggers, like I said, you just run 8 crit and 3 front. I like the new front because it goes in Soul, and Soul sometimes matters, especially now that you have new Vyrgilla that you want to have copies installed or whatever. Pretty much standard on the Blaster Trio here because they're all Galaxian. You might want to lower them a little bit now that this exists and just find a way to guarantee you have great fusion hands. I don't know how you could really do that in Empire other than the grade 1 cycle guy. I'm running a 4 of here for the new grade 2 because she is on call from anywhere. So even if you don't pop it off of a Vyrgilla, you can still just go to town or whatever. 3 of this guy, like I said, your energy is actually going to be kind of huge in this deck now that I think about it, between that and that and that. So being conservative, you can use kind of blast on him because otherwise your CB is basically just off grade 3 Vyrgilla and the impact order. Either Cosmor. This one I'm a little torn on just because energy generation, like I just said, is keen. But at the same time, free calls. So really just watch the meta, see how that works. Then just perfect guards. For Shenry, the card is massive for your early game, helps refuel your soul for things that you need it for, like the new order. And order-wise, you could run whatever Galaxy piece. I just put this in here because theme or whatever. I decided to go with 3 of the OG and 2 of the new order, just because this searches. So if you grab it, this is like Tamiri, you just grab back and run like one of them or whatever. But this is a better card for early game just because it pops the rear guard, and this really only activates on turn 4 onward. So I really think you just have more use out of this than of this. But that's that. For real this time, we will go to the outro because the birthday dog is growling at me and she wants me to play with her. So if you guys enjoy this kind of video, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'm not going to say everything again because you heard me shilling about 5 seconds ago. Leave your comments on the Vyrgilla Master down below. We need to start recalling on this, honestly, at this point. I've been playing it since the beginning since it was a funny deck. Now it's an actual serious thing that I would have taken the Tampa if my play didn't get canceled, and usually just goes X1 at locals whenever I play it. And it's about to get a bunch of support that makes it even more viable, so love me the manga start deck, protagonist deck. 0 is goated. But until next time, it is time to play with the birthday dog. So always embrace the infinite. Is there a van here? Can I just like reverse myself? Oh, we got it.